My mentor and one of the pioneers in the field of palliative care, Dr. Timothy Cole, says, "You die the way you live your life." Makes sense. How could you change during the last few days of your life? If I live a life full of fear, my end is going to be no different. If I live a life full of love and a sense of purpose, I die the same way.
That life is about the art of creating a masterpiece, a beautiful masterpiece, enjoying the journey of creating this mandala, and knowing eventually the waves are going to come and take it away, and being at peace with this awareness of I don't get to keep it, but I will create it as beautifully as I possibly can in this moment for all who are currently at this beach to witness, to take pictures of, to enjoy. Hello everybody, thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Alexis. For anybody who doesn't know, welcome if you're new, or welcome back if you have been here before. I am the author of A Journey into Truth, Unveiling Life's Secrets for Truth Seekers, and this book talks all about the last 6 years of my life, the adventures I've been on, like going into the jungle and doing ayahuasca, meeting shamans, monks, hippies, Buddhists, all kinds of things, and also some of the life lessons and philosophies I have learned along that journey. So if you're interested in learning more about that book, you can visit my website, www.vibratecreate.com, or you can find me on Instagram at Vibrate2Create. Here on Vibrate to Create, I talk about all things spiritual and metaphysical. I also talk about my own personal life experiences. I make reaction videos to spiritual teachers and inspirational, motivational videos. And sometimes I also make entrepreneurial videos letting you know how to self-publish your own books. So if you're interested in that kind of content, then click the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to be notified of when I post new videos so you never miss a video. So today I'm going to be reacting to this video called What Dying Patients Taught This Doctor About the Fear of Death. And his name is, I might say this really wrong, Fahad Saeed. And it is TEDx Rochester. And this was uploaded 2 years ago. I had this in my watch later video, so I have not seen this, but I somewhere along the line came across it and decided I'm going to do a reaction video to that eventually. Today's the day.
During recent years, medical science has made considerable advances. The latest study, published in one of the most prestigious medical journals, has totally changed the way we think about living. This study showed that life may not be survivable. As the chart here shows, 100% of us will die. It's not me saying it, it's science. By talking about your death, I am perhaps exposing you to one of your worst fears, and one of mine. I'm a researcher, I'm a kidney doctor, I'm also a palliative care and hospice doctor. Being someone who deals with death and dying on a day-to-day basis does not make me any better or worse than the rest of you when it comes to facing my own mortality. We're all in this together. Let me share with you my own journey with the fear of death. I'm an immigrant to this country, which is now my country. I came here after completing my medical school. I still remember that one cold night in New York City when I had no place to live. I had budgeted $10 a day to survive for next 5 months. I was roaming the streets, wearing a light jacket. Clearly, I had underestimated the severity of cold weather in New York. During that night, there was a time when I thought I was going to die on the streets of a foreign country. Just to give you an update, in case you didn't notice, I am alive. But that night, exposure to my own mortality made me curious about how people cope with their death. How is it possible that one day we're here in this world and the next we may not be? So today, I am going to tell you how to conquer your fear of death on this important issue in my more than a decade-long medical training experience. This is what I've learned. Nothing. Nobody taught me how to cope with the fear of death. I have dreams and aspirations that can be shattered at any moment by my death. I have 3 young children, and I wish to raise them to be good human beings. So I really wanted to learn how people cope with the fear of death. And I was very fortunate to learn it from the best teachers, my dying patients. These are my teachers. These are my heroes. My first hero's name, we'll call him Jerome. He and I met in my kidney clinic. He was in his 70s. He was wearing blue jeans and a black polo shirt. It was a very busy day. But there was something different about this office visit. As soon as I entered the room, I felt at peace. Over the next 25 minutes or so, I completed my history, physical examination, and then I asked him, "Are you a religious or a spiritual person?" He said no. I remained persistent and made a rather risky move. I said, "When I'm in your presence, I feel peace. And typically, I feel this way in the presence of very religious and spiritual people." He smiled and said, "It's because I don't sweat the small stuff." I became even more curious. And I said, "What do you mean by that?" And then he told me a story. When he was in his 50s, one day, his son and his family were visiting him. He was on the first floor of his 2-story house, enjoying his morning breakfast, reading the newspaper. He was on the first floor. His son's family were on the second. Suddenly, he heard his grandkids and daughter-in-law screaming at the top of their voices, and he had no idea what was happening, so he immediately rushed upstairs. And there he saw something that would be the worst nightmare of any parent. His son had hung himself. Jerome said, "Doc, over the next few minutes, I had to take care of my grandkids, my daughter-in-law, call 911, and untie my son. Once I'd done that, I am fearless. I know why I'm here in this world. I am here to take care of my grandkids and help other children live and learn life. I totally know what living means to me." Jerome's kidneys were working at less than 10%, but he chose against dialysis because that did not fit into his way of living. So this was Jerome. Caring for children was important. Everything else was trivial. My second hero, we'll call her Betsy. She was in her 30s when her son was born. During a routine medical checkup, her doctor found a lump in her breast, said it probably wasn't something, but still recommended a few tests. After the results came in, she went back to see her doctor, but the tone of the room was quite different this time. Her doctor told her, "I'm very concerned that you might have a breast cancer. We need to do a biopsy." After those results came back, Betsy was diagnosed to have stage 2 cancer. Her whole life changed. She was worried about her life, her family, her job, but mostly she was worried about her little baby, Harry, who was only a few months old at that time. Over the next several months, she underwent surgery, received chemotherapy, received radiation. And amidst all of this, Harry had started to sit up and say his first word, "Mommy." Betsy celebrated Harry's first birthday in the hospital. Luckily, her cancer responded to the treatment and went into remission. Life returned to normal. She took a vacation, resumed her job, and a few years passed. One day, she woke up with an intense headache, called her doctor, who did a few scans, and told her that her cancer had come back and was now in her brain and liver. Betsy had stage 4 breast cancer. But she never lost hope. She kept fighting for her life, fighting for her son. Over the next couple of years, she received different forms of chemotherapies. But her cancer kept growing and eventually became incurable. One day she went to her cancer doctor, who told her that she may have only a few more months to live, and she should consider hospice. Betsy had lost the fight of her life, and she accepted this with a ton of grace and courage. But she had not lost the fight for her son, and she was totally committed to prepare her son for her eventual death and their reunion in heaven. So over the next several weeks, she wrote birthday cards for him, recorded video messages for him, so he could watch them at the key moments of his life. Betsy eventually died. But her last wish, her 4-year-old son Harry, was laying on her chest while she passed away. So this was Betsy. There was no fear in her end-of-life journey, only love and a strong sense of purpose. I am not as brave as Jerome, who didn't sweat the small stuff. I am not as brave as Betsy, who kept fighting till the end. But these heroes inspired me to go back to my mom and talk about her end-of-life wishes. During one evening walk, I said to her, "Mom, how is it possible that one day we're here in this world and the next we may not be?" This simple phrase allowed her to open up to me and express her end-of-life wishes to me. As a medical doctor, too often I see dying and terminally ill patients struggling with embracing their mortality and expressing their end-of-life wishes to their loved ones. Caught between the fear of death and hope for life, unfortunately, they choose burdensome treatments that are unlikely to prolong their survival or improve their quality of life in a meaningful way. Making decisions for them on their behalf can be traumatizing for families who may later suffer from guilt and depression. So, in a way, my mom gave me a gift by discussing her end of life wishes with me. But I had to be courageous and be ready to receive that gift. And interestingly, when we spoke about her mortality, my anxiety about losing her also went down. And now I am more committed to honor her end of life wishes if her time comes before mine. Jerome coped with his fear of death by clearly knowing what living meant to him. Betsy coped with her fear of death by having a lot of love and a strong sense of purpose during the last few months of her life. My mentor and one of the pioneers in the field of palliative care, Dr. Timothy Cole, says, "You die the way you live your life." Makes sense. How could you change during the last few days of your life? If I live a life full of fear, my end is going to be no different. If I live a life full of love and a sense of purpose, I die the same way. So today, I ask you, what does living mean for each of you? What does dying mean? Are these different things? Or the opposite ends of the same rope called life? Today, give yourself permission not to live a life filled with fear. Live a life filled with love, a sense of meaning, and purpose.
So let's talk for a second. I have actually a few videos on my channel that talk about like death and the afterlife and what goes on after our physical body is no longer in this specific reality. And I've talked before very much about how I believe our consciousness lives on after our physical body dies because of the trainings I've been on, the people I've met on my journey, and the awarenesses and experiences I've had in my own life as well, of like kind of like just knowing things and your intuition and knowing something's about to happen and things like that. And I think it's a very life-changing, it can be a very life-changing thing to think about when you're actually like realizing and fully taking that in, that one day I will not be here. And that fear of living your life, never having gotten to do the things that you wanted to do, and ending up at your end and think, oh, I have all these regrets. I didn't talk to this person. I didn't go on that trip when I had the chance. I didn't call that person. I didn't say I was sorry. And really taking that in and realizing, using that fear to your own advantage so that you can live a life fully to its fullest potential, and then be able to get, like he said, on that rope, get to the end of that rope and say, I am so grateful, so proud of the way that I lived that what is that called? That segment that I was given, that life that I was, that was bestowed upon me when I came into this world. And I'm so passionate about that, about helping people to live a life that means something. When he said that rope thing, it reminded me of like a braid. Like you're building this braid and building this braid and building this braid, and then being able to get to the end and realize, oh my gosh, I remember when I did that specific part of the braid, and then when I was in the middle, and then when I was doing this, and like being able to look back and say, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful for that masterpiece I created. in my book, I have a small little section that is called, what is it called? I had to change the battery, but I'm back. So in my book, I have, well, a lot of this chapter is actually about impermanence and life in general. But in one specific subheading, I talk about how one day I was walking along a pier and like at a beach, a pier. And so I was walking on the pier and I looked over at the waves and at the ocean, and I saw these like tiny little people, because I was a Pi, they were like tiny little people building this humongous mandala, and it was like colorful. I'm pretty sure it was eco-friendly, but I'm sure they wouldn't put some poison next to the water. But anyways, so these tiny little people were building this humongous mandala with like colorful sand. It was so intricate, and they knew exactly how to do it so perfectly all together, all these different people, so that it could create this perfect round circle with all these beautiful intricate shapes inside of it. And they were just having fun creating this masterpiece right close to the ocean. And I thought to myself as I was walking, I was like, why would you create such a beautiful piece of art? Such an intricate thing that took you so long, and then you have nothing to show for it. You can't put it on a canvas and take it with you and show all these people, or sell it to somebody, you know, to create, you know, stuff for yourself. Like, you're just building this beautiful masterpiece, and the ocean is going to wash it away. And I was thinking, like, why would they do that? More like contemplating, not like a judgy way, but more just contemplating, like, why? And it became this symbol of our own lives. I was thinking to myself, every single one of us is just like this mandala. We're building homes, we're building gardens, we're building lives and masterpieces, works of art, our whole life. And in the end, it will always be washed away by the waves. In the end, it's impermanent. And I said something like that life is about the art of creating a masterpiece, a beautiful masterpiece, enjoying the journey of creating this mandala, and knowing eventually the waves are going to come and take it away. And being at peace with this awareness of, I don't get to keep it, but I will create it as beautifully as I possibly can in this moment for all who are currently at this beach to witness, to take pictures of, to enjoy, to remember the memory of it, and perhaps share it to others so that they have the memory of it. And to enjoy the process of creating, and not to do it as a means to get somewhere else. And I thought that was so powerful that they were able to create this awareness within me, this awareness of the meaning of life. And all I did was I watched some people make a mandala next to waves. So in my life, I've definitely had these fears come up about death when I had cancer, and you know, all those things I've experienced that I explained before. And I'm so grateful for those things, because it's what led me on a journey into like, oh, where is the truth? Where is what's going to happen to me when I leave this world? Or what is the meaning of, how do I live it as best as I possibly can? How can I create something beautiful in this world before I leave, and live it to its fullest? Go see everything I can possibly see within the means of what I can. Like, what kind of trips can I take? Can I go on that hot air balloon when I have the opportunity, and like take that chance, take that choice to go ahead and go do it, and to live fearlessly, and to know that by the time I get to the end of braiding that rope, I can look back on every single part that I braided and say, oh my gosh, I am so happy with the way I created that braid, and I wouldn't have done it any other way. Wouldn't have done it any other way. And that is meaningful life. All right. I think that is all for today. If you have any questions, any comments, please leave that down below for me. If you have something you'd like for me to react to next, you can also leave that in the comments. I really appreciate you joining in, listening, hearing my opinions and my thoughts and ideas from my experiences and the mandalas I've created in my own life. And I hope that it inspires you to start creating your own mandala in perhaps a more beautiful way than it has been. Alright? So thank you again for joining in. Genuinely, I am very grateful to anybody who clicks on my videos, because you're taking a little piece of me. You're taking a little memory of who I am in this world as I am now. So thank you. Alright, I'll see you guys in the next video. And again, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye guys.